yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to the Honest Recruiter podcast. This session we've got Halfordsucks, who some of you might know. I think a lot of you will know, to be fair. So he's a content creator on Facebook. I've watched him for about 2 years, maybe a bit longer. And his sort of rise through that couple of years has been insane. So I wanted to get him on and just have a real chat with him about what's got him into that industry, how everything started, what he was doing before, and so on. So, and we've also got Pud, who's his assistant, his pretty assistant in the corner over there.
Well, I'm going to get beat for that after.
You said it. So how are you doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah, I'm spot on, mate. Thank you for having us on.
No. Thanks for coming on. So how did it all start? What were you doing before streaming? Because I know you've been streaming for about 3 and a bit years.
Yeah, so like we actually both worked together in site maintenance. We worked on a site and we just kind of maintained the grounds and looked after everything. So there's a lot of days where I think, 18 at the time, in a job that I absolutely despised. And, you know, more often than not, I was getting up at like the stupid hours, getting home late, doing like really long days, coming home covered in like if you can imagine it, I've been covered in it. And I absolutely stank of it. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, you dig deep, and I can guarantee I was splattered in it at some point in the day. So it was pretty miserable. But I basically, like, my life at that point was work and then get home and ride my BMX. I rode like freestyle BMX, competed at a world tournament thing once. Whether that labels me as professional, I don't know, but so no, I didn't win. No, I came out of the top 100 in the world. I came 55th, or 52nd. So I'll take it. Like, you know, I was very hungover. It was at a festival as well, and I was not at peak performance. And I think I ended up doing about a roly-poly about 6 times. And
get the excuses.
Still did all right, so, you know, I'll take it. But in the June, I don't know, the June or the July of 2019, I broke my leg riding my BMX, coincidentally. Took 3 months off of work because it was pretty severe break. I've got a lovely ton of metal work in my leg, and it's, you know, like something out of a horror film. It's great. So I was stuck in bed for like a few months, and in that time I really, really picked up gaming. At the time, Fortnite was massive. It was like taking over the world in terms of like gaming and stuff. And I was basically just sat in bed all day playing that, much to my despise. I was absolutely bored. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So I was kind of itching to get back out. I went back to work in the October and then went to ride my bike. I actually had a holiday booked to Barcelona for November, literally a BMX holiday. I was a bit sort of skeptical. My bike was still my life. It was all I wanted to do still. So I went, you know, in the time that I was off work, I still rode my bike. I didn't listen to the doctors, you know. I was 18, you know, what are you going to do? Like, life's full of mistakes at that point. I rode my bike before I could walk again. It was like definitely not a clever idea, but, you know, here we are. So I went back to work at the start of October, and I tried to ride my bike a couple of times in the first 2 weeks of being back to work, and it didn't really go quite as I'd planned. For whatever reason, I thought I was just going to spring back from it. I've broken so many bones in my body at this point that it was like, I'll be fine, like whatever. And I got on, and it was different this time. I was terrified. So I was like, I spent 9 days in hospital and 3 months stuck in my bedroom. Like, this is not fun. I was like, I don't really want to live on statutory sick pay again. Like, it was pretty miserable. Do you know what I mean? So while I'd been on like my £500 a month statutory sick pay, I spent a whole month's wages of that on a gaming PC, on a second-hand gaming PC, and really started to take it on a bit more. And then in the October, like the end of October, Hood had really been pushing me. He was like, look, Char, it works. Like, it's always funny listening to you just lose your head on a game, and you're good at the game. Why don't you just give streaming a try? I was like, whatever. No, I'm not really interested. And then obviously, as I kind of realised that like BMXing was more or less over for me, it was like, all right, fuck it, like let's just give it a go. I was like, even if it's just, I only wanted it to be like a fun hobby to just take up my evening time, so I wasn't just sitting there watching Netflix. So we started it, and it was basically just me, Pud, and a couple of our friends that would sit there, and we would just play Fortnite, talk waffle, standard procedures. Like, I had no ambitions in it going anywhere. And as I got more and more bored at work and at home, I kind of started to capitalize on it as more of a, not even financially, just as a creative outlet. Like, I've always been a creative person. I love art. I love painting. I love drawing. I paint all the walls that are like this. These are all hand painted behind me and stuff.
Don't know.
I just love it. Like, and so I kind of started using it as a bit more of a creative outlet, because it was like, I was still not really making great money at the time, and all of my money was going on bills, so I couldn't like afford like art supplies or anything like that. So I was like, well, if I'm using a PC, I might as well learn a new skill and try and do it all on a PC, right? And I think that kind of was really where it set the stream apart from like a lot of others at the time. Obviously, the industry back then was a lot less crowded, in the sense of COVID brought out a lot of people who were sat at home bored and had gaming PCs and wanted to, you know, become a full-time streamer. And so obviously this was pre-COVID era, so it was quite a bit more of a niche back then. And obviously when you then start to capitalize on that and really do things different and not just be like some geezer on camera playing a game and talking waffle, like I mean, we was going out and we was doing like mad ideas from the get-go and just doing weird. I'm just known for doing weird shit, right? Like, there's no point in dancing around the topic. It's just what I'm good at. And so, like, you know, yeah, like I've painted my face every day for about 3 months with different designs just to go and sit on stream after work. I look mental. The amount of times I walked in, because it was more like crayons. It was awful. But the amount of times I walked in the next day, I'd have like deep, dark black eyebrows or like bright red eyebrows where I couldn't get the paint out properly. Oh, I look mental. Every time I went into work, they would just look like, bearing in mind, like, we work with people who are like, I don't know, average age was probably like 55, wasn't it? And they're all like proper serious, like, labour bods. And they're all like, every morning I walked in there, I was the youngest in there. I mean, Pud was the second youngest. He's still 12 years older than me, right? And I always used to walk in there and just a look, so I'd just be like,
This is life.
yeah, literally. It's like, this is what I get up to. It's like, you know, none of them obviously understood it, because back then it was even more weird to do this sort of shit than it is now. And, you know, when you're talking to like a bunch of like relatively old-fashioned blokes about it, they're just like, oh, what the fuck are you on about? Yeah. So I think it definitely was a bit of a bizarre thing. But it actually started to pick up at that point, which was quite nice. And
it's crazy that it's sort of like become a career, but like literally in the last 5 years, 10 years maybe.
It didn't. I mean, thing is, this sort of stuff barely existed 5 years ago, did it?
No.
Like maybe on YouTube, but even then, like the money from it wasn't what it was now. You know,
it's
like
crazy.
The production value was a lot more budget as well. Like, you know, I mean, I myself, like on some of our videos, we spend like maybe $1,000 plus on a single video. And that's like low production. Do you know what I mean? Like some of these videos are costing people tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds. And it's like, oh my God. You know, it is pretty nuts. But we, it kind of started to like grow really slowly throughout the next few months. I still went to Barcelona, had a great time, and then came back and like knuckled down with it a bit. We got maybe up to about 6 average viewers, and then COVID hit, and it was like I was making like pennies. Like, it wasn't even like it worth considering an income. And I remember when the tax year ended, because obviously I was doing that self-employed. I had to try and figure out how to do the taxes. That was interesting. I'd done that, and it was like so minimal that they just changed. Like, I spoke to HMRC, and I was like, "Well, we'll just change the tax code for this year." Like, that's like it was like less than £600, and I was like, "I'm not going to charge you tax. It would change the tax code." I'm like, all right, whatever. And then obviously COVID hit, and I was on furlough, and that was when I was like, "Well, I really haven't got anything else to do now, so let's really start to capitalize." And so I started streaming something stupid like 12 hours a day. Like, I'd go live at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon and stream until 3 a.m. And oh my God, it was the most unhealthy point in my life I've ever had. At least the game was really enjoyable back then. It's not quite not in the same spot it was now. I could actually fault doing 12 hours. I loved every second of it. We'd sit at 10 viewers for the entire time, and I'd have a fucking brilliant time. I honestly think I was just pissed for most of it. Like, it'd be like 3 o'clock. I've drank about 4 or 5 energy drinks, and then it's like 6 o'clock comes around. It's like, well, now the beers come out, and that birthed an interesting period in my life that maybe we'll touch on later if that's something you want to talk about. But it started to grow, and in the September, like early September of the first bout of COVID and such, I got a message through from one of my like loyal fans.
That's the moment you're going to talk about here, because it's the moment I would have picked out as well.
Yeah, and it was a message, and I still remember reading it, and it just said, I just want to say thank you. And I was like, why? He goes, you saved my life last night. And I'm like, well, like, talking waffle, what's this all about? And he goes, I was sat ready to jump, and I got the notification through from your stream. And for whatever reason, I felt compelled to open that notification. I started watching your stream, and I sat there for 2 hours watching it until I eventually climbed down. He went, if it wasn't for you going live, I wouldn't have been here. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, that is some pressure and a half. Like, I was like, I set out what we wanted to do. Like, we're helping people, and we're making people smile, and, like, actually making a difference. And at that point, it really hit me that, like, holy fuck, I'm just some random ginger kid sat in my bedroom playing games, but we're actually, like, benefiting people. Like, we're actually doing things that helps people. And I think the next day, I literally rang up my boss, and I was like, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, fucking hate it there. And I think I'm actually doing something cool here. So I'm going to quit. He goes, what? He goes, where are you going to get a job? And I went, I'm not. I was like, I'm just going to try this, see what happens. And he went, Carl, you're mental. And I went, I've got to try it. I went, if I don't do it now, it's not going to work. Like, I can't, like, they was talking about bringing us all back to work. And I was like, if I come back to work, it's not going to work out. Like, I'm finally starting to get in somewhere. Like, you could tell that the market was getting more and more saturated as well, with more and more people realising, fuck, I ain't going back to work for a while. Let's keep trying it. Yeah, and it was like, exactly. I need to capitalise. And I think I made £600 that month. And so it was an interesting decision to quit my job. But that was in the September. The October was even worse. Something changed on Facebook in the October, and I made £400. And I just remember sitting there going, I fucked everything up. I have no money. This is all about to go wrong. I can barely afford to pay any of my bills because I have no savings, because I'm 20 and I've spunked it all on alcohol and holidays and stupid shit that I didn't need, like computers. And it's all going wrong. And then that same month, we got a letter through, or an email through from Facebook offering me partner. Yeah. And I just remember he saw the fucking email before I did, and he rang me up and he goes, "Charlie, check the page, Charlie, check the page." And I'm like, "Is it gone? Like, what's going on? This just opened, breaking it." And I opened it up, and it was like an invitation to be a partner, and I'm like, brother, because at the time that meant everything. Like, that was a shift and a half to get there.
To go on the point, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, there was no like goals or anything like there is now. It was literally just a case of they invited you if they liked what you did. And so that, like, back then it was like, if you was a partner, that was like prestige. You know what I mean? And so it meant a lot.
Was that before, or was that after the Thind tournament?
That was just before. So we basically got the letter at the start of October. Like, accepted it, and then there was like a month process, and then I think the Thind tournament, we got partnered on the 1st of November. At the end of October, like this kind of period, a lot fucking happened all at once, right? Yeah. So at the end of October, I posted a video, and I hadn't ever posted videos. I'd only streamed, but I posted a video because I'd got in a game. I died to 2 cheats in the game, and obviously cheating in Warzone, like, if you played it, is a big issue, right? And so we died to these cheaters and was like, let's invite them to a game and see what they say. And they actually joined up. And so I ended up, like, pretending that we were just weirdos that was interested in the cheats, really. Yeah. Well, the only bit we was pretending was about being interested in the cheats. I was not pretending about being a weirdo. And they was chatting away with us, and it was, like, really fascinating. We ended up playing a game, and I still regret it because I didn't back out before the game won, and I've got this one win on my account that had cheaters involved, and to this day it eats me alive. But it's like they was just killing everyone so quick that I couldn't even back out in time. But I posted that video, And it didn't really do anything until about 2 weeks later, around the same time we got partnered, it just blew up. It went from like 10,000 views, which was already a lot at the time for the channel, to 250,000. And then a week later, I won the Finn tournament. And to give you some perspective, when I won the first Finn tournament, I can't say TH, sorry, if it's just...
It's all right.
When I won the Finn tournament, I think I peaked at 80 viewers that week. It was like a 12-hour stream. That was a long fucking stream at the time. And I peaked at about 80 viewers, which was high for me anyway. And I think I averaged about 25 for the entire stream. But 7 days later, when I went back and done the next... So I made a video out of that, and that video just blew up straight away. Done really well. It was like a very cleverly way of editing it, because I used his perspective, because obviously he's got like a lot more followers. People know his face more than they know mine. Used his perspective to get the initial bait on the video and like use the hook, and it works really well. And that video is now sitting at like 900,000 views, which like even now is still a good video for me. But a week later, literally 7 days after winning that first tournament, I went back into the second one and I went live, and I went from 0 viewers to 808 in the first like 10 minutes. And I had the viewer count hidden because I normally hide it. And I just remember unhiding it because the chat was going so fast. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I unhid the chat and I'm like... I was like, the most we've ever had is like 150. I was like, 808 people. Honestly, I've never been nervous like that before. It was like a whole different experience. I was on like a different plane. Do you know what I mean? It was terrifying.
In the thinned one.
And this was 7 days apart.
Yeah, man. You were nervous in as well. And when you got stuck on that fucking buy box,
mate,
I was like,
that was
no way you've been glitched out of this.
I mean, that was the first one as well, and that was like this is my first ever tournament, and I'm getting shit like this happen. Like, brother, really? But like that whole like month-long period was like pretty life-changing in terms of the business. It's like we went from, as I said, about £400 in October to I think I made just under £5,000 in the November.
Wow.
And that was like, and most of that was ad rev. And I was like, I didn't even know ad rev existed. I was like, what the fuck is this? So I'm posting videos and they're getting views and I'm getting paid for it. I was like, this is brilliant. This is revolutionary. And all of a sudden, I started making videos and like regularly posting, like I was putting effort into them. I was really enjoying it because it was like a different style of creativity to the streams. I could edit out the bits that I didn't like, and I didn't know anything about editing, but I just watched a ton of YouTube tutorials. Most of them were in Spanish for some reason, and I had to have English subtitles on. Don't ask me why, because now there's hundreds in English, but at the time it was like they're all Spanish. And I learned how to edit videos, and that is still to this day now my main source of income is videos. And that was like pretty life-changing, because it was like, oh my God, I'm sitting here eating dinner and I'm making money for something I did yesterday. I was like, this is fucking brilliant. I've been doing my life all wrong. This is great. And like the growth was insane, and we was doing like 10,000 followers a month, like blowing like every single person out the water on Facebook, like, especially in the UK as well. Like the fastest growing partner in the UK. It was just insane to see everything just like falling together. But like those 2 months were like really rough as well, because obviously COVID was really rife. My granddad caught COVID and spent a couple of weeks ill at home. And like it wasn't unusual for him to be quite ill. He was like quite sick anyway. But this was obviously like visibly worse than normal. And I just remember trying to like pull him up. And at the time I was doing like a little bit of like gardening work on the side and stuff as well. So I was like in between doing everything like that. And I just remember pulling him up one day and like, come on, you need to get up and have a shower. I went and done some gardening that day, and I came back, and my mum rang me and she was like, Granddad's gone to hospital. The ambulance have come. They don't think it's COVID, but they don't know. They want to take all the precautions. I just remember getting home and just sitting there crying with her. I was like, fuck, like I'm not ready for this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then we spoke to him every day for about a week. And our next door neighbour, who we're like really close friends with, actually ended up in the same ward as him, also really ill. And thankfully she was allowed to see him while he was in there, because otherwise we obviously weren't. So he at least got to spend it with someone that he knew. And the day before he passed, she took a picture with him. Pictures up in the bathroom. He's got all the tubes in his face and stuff. I just remember seeing it like my heart broke. And then the next morning, but she got home like a couple of days before him or something. I can't remember the exact things, but she got home a couple of days before, and then basically the nurses rang my aunt because they were trying to get hold of us. But me and my mum were both like sound asleep. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. We were both just stressed. My next door neighbour came banging on the door and was like, "Look, you need to ring him because this is it." I just remember going upstairs, sitting with my mum, and the last thing that I said to him was, "I'm going to make this fucking work. I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to do you proud." I was like, "We're going to climb this mountain, and I'm going to do it with your memory and in your honour. I love you." And 15 minutes later, he died on the phone to my mum, and it was like, it was a lot. Do you know what I mean? It was a lot because like, we couldn't even go in and see him. I think it had been like 10 days or so that he'd been in the hospital. It was awful.
Yeah.
And it's like that day, time just stood still. And like, I mean, I'm sure it feels pretty similar if you've lost anyone, right? But that man was like my everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was terrible. And it's like all the while, like I just wanted to give up at that point. Like I just wanted to sit there, curl up in a ball, and just grieve. But I knew that's not what he would have wanted. And with everything else going on in terms of the business and like everything starting to flourish, I was like, I can't stop. Because if I stop, not only have I lost someone, I've pissed away a chance of like actually making a difference. I was like, he'd beat the fuck out of me if I'd done that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, can you imagine his face? Like if I gave up just because I'd lost him, like, I can't do that. And I took that day off. And even then, like, I took that day off and I sat there with my mum for a bit, and her sister came round and they sat there together. And I was like, I want to be on my own. So I went and sat in my bedroom, locked myself in my bedroom, and I edited videos. And basically just cried all day, to be honest. It was a big mess. Yeah. And the next day, I went back and started streaming again. I took a day off, and I streamed every day, or I'm pretty sure almost every day, like, except maybe Christmas Day and Boxing Day, up until his funeral, because like even then COVID, it took a month to get like a funeral done and stuff. We went to the funeral, and then I took that day off, and then I went back on it. And I've just, I don't know, some people, I guess, like, it's kind of hard when you grieve. I feel like everyone obviously deals with it in different ways. My way was just throwing myself into my work and alcohol, which definitely not a good way of doing it, but it worked for me, I guess. So, but yeah, no, it was basically how it all started, and from there it's just not stopped.
It certainly hasn't stopped either, has it, to be fair? When did Pud get involved then? So when did that start?
So Pud has always been,
as in
I've
probably
always been here, but
2 months ago.
Yeah.
2 months ago, I had a phone call with my accountant, and I was like, how the fuck do I employ someone? Because I don't know how this works. And he goes, well, we'll figure it out. And we figured it all out. We figured out the kinks and everything. And I rang Pud up and I went, I think it's time, mate. You know what? I went, imagine noticing. And he went, are you joking? I went, look, I've got enough money that I can pay you for the next 12 months. I went, we just need to make sure that we get it up and running and it's all going smoothly for the next 12 months so we can do another 12 months and we'll just figure it out one step at a time. I was like, I don't know enough about this, but I was like, we'll give it a go. I was like, we're going to really branch out and we're going to work our bollocks off for the next 12 months. I was like, if you think cutting grass and getting covered in fox poo is bad enough, I was like, I'm about to ruin your life. I was like, I will break you down and rebuild you, and you're not going to have a sleep pattern. I'm sorry, we're going in on this. I was like, 12 months, we've got to make this work and do it as mental as we can. So I've given him an easy first month, but now we're really getting started.
Would you say it's been an easy first month?
It's completely different to what I was doing before.
Yeah.
But now getting hit with all sorts of bread.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like a little random video bit comes to my head and I'm like, let's do this. And he's like, what? I'm like, look, I've got 2 whistles here. We're walking to the shops and we're getting some bread. And he goes, why? I'm like, because we're going to beat each other with bread until one of us blows the whistle.
I've just bought the one chip challenge.
Yeah, I'm like, I've just bought this. It's really spicy. Can you eat it for a video? He's like, why? And I'm like,
why
not?
don't you eat it? Why not? You eat it.
So, yeah, I mean, I've definitely put him through his paces so far. But,
my guts don't like you anymore.
No, I've definitely churned his guts over a couple of times with some of the stuff I've made him eat. But I think that I don't think he's quite ready for like what it's really like. Because like when we get like a mad month, I mean, like I will spend like 22 hours a day out here, and I'll be on like minimal. I'll look like a zombie, and like I can do that for like a week straight, and I'll do that to them. So
you mentioned a little bit about drinking before.
Yes.
And a bit sort of. Do you want to go into that a bit more? But into
I can touch on it. Yeah. I think obviously there's a like big stigma around like addiction, especially like business as well. Like I don't think business people like to admit that they have problems. Very like on the surface perfect. So you scope it even as like everyone's got their skeletons, right? Mine was alcohol, very badly alcohol. Obviously we all drank a bit too much over lockdown. But I think my life didn't really change after lockdown. If anything, it just kind of stayed the same, except I was in more of a worse mental state because obviously I'd lost my granddad. It was like so I was drinking a lot through lockdown anyway, just pretty much getting pissed up every day because I was bored or just streaming. It was fun. And then obviously I lost my granddad and I started drinking as coping. It's like a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I was a good alcoholic. Like I didn't just get pissed and sit down and watch telly. Like I got pissed and edited like hundreds of videos. So it was brilliant. Like I'd sit there till like 4 o'clock in the morning, just with a case of Stella next to me and Premiere Pro open editing videos. It was like, this isn't a problem. What does it matter? And then as the world started to open back up again, and I realised that it wasn't normal to be getting battered 7 days a week.
Yeah.
We was sort of going out and like we'd go out and do things. And when we hit 100K, it was a bit of an eye opener for me. So I hit 100K and I said to Pud, I was like, right, let's go out, the four of us. We'll go out the Shard, we'll get a couple of drinks. I was like, it's all on me. I was like, I've saved up for this. It's time for us to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, let's have a good night. So we went to a bar at the Shard, spent like 250 quid on the drinks downstairs. And then we went upstairs, got like, I barely even remember it. I just remember going to the toilets, looking at the urinal, and I was like, oh my God, I can see the entire London while I'm having a piss. This is brilliant. And then in the restaurant upstairs, it's like all four of us had Wagyu steaks, like all the works, like you know what it's like in the Shard, it's obviously costing an arm and a leg. I just remember waking up the next day, like how the fuck did we get home? Because we took my car and I definitely didn't drive. And I was like, I just woke up and I was like, tail between my legs, I've definitely upset everyone. And I checked my bank balance, and I upset myself when I checked my bank balance, and I'd spent $1,000 and didn't remember spending $1,000 on food and booze. And I was like, maybe I should probably take this as a bit of an eye-opener. Maybe this is, maybe this is like, you know, the fact that I can afford to do it now, whereas like I couldn't afford to do it like a year in advance. Like maybe I should probably like listen to the fact that if I'm freely spending $1,000 when I'm pissed, it's probably a problem. So I was like, let's stop. And I knocked it on the head and went sober, which was...
That quickly? Just decided you were doing it?
Yeah, I just made the decision that day. And it was fucking brutal. It was terrible. Like, I have a very, very, very addictive personality. Like, if I enjoy something, that becomes my life, and it will be all I do. And normally, it was just work and drink. And because I didn't drink, I then threw myself even more into work. Which I'm sure most of the workaholics that listen to this will understand is terrible for relationships. And when you lock yourself in an office for every waking hour of the day and ignore everybody unless it's to do with business, that's incredibly bad for the people around you. And that kind of became my coping mechanism then. And I realised that was just as unhealthy because I was pissing everyone off around me for different reasons now. And it was like, maybe at some point I really need to sort myself out. And I was like, I'm getting fat as well. Or I was fat. I was like 18.5 stone. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, I'm still walking with a limp 3 years after breaking my leg. So I need to sort myself out. And so at the time, I was filming a video series called Warzone in Weird Places, where we just took my laptop and I just played Warzone in the most bizarre places I could think. I was like, fuck it, my mate's got a treadmill. I'm going to do it on his treadmill. So I jumped on his treadmill and started playing Warzone. And I got a win. And I was like, this was easy. I was like, this was quite fun. It was a banger video. I was like, I had a great time doing it. I said to him, I was like, do you reckon, I could do that and do a marathon? And he went, no chance. I went, why not? He went, it's just not a chance. I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll ring Pud. So I rang Pud, and he was like, brother, what are you doing? It's 10:30, I'm going to bed. And I'm like, I've just won a game of Warzone on Nick's treadmill. Do you think I can do it and do a marathon and we'll live stream it? And he went, fuck off, Charles, I'm going to bed. And I'm like, all right, fine. So the next day, I came in and started figuring out I woke up and started figuring out the logistics. Started putting it all into practice. Came up with a whole video series for it. Started speaking to people who have done marathons, and I was like, fuck the physical part, I'll just do a marathon from research instead. That'll work. And then I was like, Pud, book off the 6th of January, make sure you're not working. He was like, why? I was like, because we're doing something. He goes, what are we doing? I was like, I'll tell you later, because you're not going to want to do it. He goes, oh, for fuck's sake. So I went and measured out like a stretch of path in Whitstable. And we started, I was like, yeah, this will do. Calculated that I had to run up and down it like 107 times or something stupid like that. And I was like, right, Pud, we're doing a marathon. He goes, wait. I was like, well, me, you just got to film it. He goes, right. And I was like, I'm going to change shoes every 2 miles. And he goes, why? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think it'd just be better for the video. It was the 6th of January on a fucking beach.
It was
in the south of the UK. But I think that kind of put me on a track to like get myself free from alcohol, because it was like alcohol led to a work addiction, or like even more of a work addiction, which then led to a gym addiction, which I think is ultimately probably the most healthy out of all 3 of those. And so I kind of substituted alcohol for work and then work for gym, and now I've lost 4 stone, over 4 stone. I've completed a marathon on a treadmill. I've done what I set out to do. I've got more planned. I'm doing like a Tough Mudder in less than 3 weeks. I need to make sure I'm not busy on that day. Booked it months ago and I forgot. And like a bunch of other shit. And like the alcohol thing for me like really became a struggle when like difficult shit happened. Like, I know I mentioned to you on the phone before this. Obviously, I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I know I mentioned like some of the shit that's going on, and that has kind of put me in a bit of a blender with it all. And that weekend I did cave and I had a couple of beers. I've managed to keep it under control, which was surprising because I thought I would end up getting shit-faced and falling in a bush. I've kept myself clean since then, so I'm not... I would have been 9 months sober next weekend.
But you
sadly, I made it to 8 months. No, would it have been 9 months or 10? Oh, fuck knows. Would have been like 9 or 10 months this month. I made it to 8 months before I caved, which I was relatively impressed with. But I'm back. I'm back sorting myself out now. Like, the last month has just been nothing but stress. Like, we've had the new company take over, launching another company and putting all this behind the scenes and stuff like that, training Pud on how to do everything. And like a bunch of other shit that I can't say that has just been like stuff that I never thought I'd have to deal with, and has been awful. So it's been like the last month has been nothing but like I've had COVID in amongst all of that as well. It's been like, oh fucking hell, does it ever end? Please. I think there's a light at the moment, but I don't know. Hopefully by the end of this week it'll either be an even darker tunnel or it'll be some light. So hopefully we'll see.
Man who doesn't leave his office catches COVID.
Yeah, literally. I'll go away for the first time in 3 years. Go to Spain for like 4 days, come back and I've got Rona. It's like, yeah, fucking brilliant. First time I've left my office in like 2 years. Like, yeah, nice.
Talk to me about Thing, because I saw your announcement the other day on Facebook. So,
so I have worked with those since about the same time that everything blew up. I had once again, back on addiction for me, a rippling caffeine addiction. And I would drink probably 5 or 6 monsters a day.
Too many.
Yeah, which is not only expensive because it was like £12 a day on Monster, but also like it definitely gives you good old liver a kick. And everything else. Like honestly, it's awful. Another thing that contributed to the massive weight gain was my poor diet at the time of Monster and chocolate. And so I tried some of the other ones that I just couldn't get along with. I was like, this powder stuff is bullshit. I was like, I don't like it. It was like, it tastes powdery. It don't work. Like, I'm still drinking Monster with it anyway. And then, so my business partner, Ash, reached out to me at the time. Never knew who he was, didn't know who the company was. And he was like, oh, look, we do this. And I'm like, listen, I've tried all this bollocks in the past. I was like, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, just trust me. He goes, please listen to me. He goes, I know I'm just a stranger to you, but he goes, I genuinely believe that, like, this is the best. And I'm like, everyone says that shit. I'm like, all right, I'll interrogate you. Fuck you then. So we sat there on the phone and we must have written about 20 questions, right? Like, really in-depth questions. Everything you could think to ask. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was Googling things to ask him, you know what I mean? But I was like, I'm going to put this geezer under the spotlight and I'm going to make him crack. Because I was like, the second he gives me an answer I don't like, I'll tell him to do one. And he answered everything. He didn't even bat an eye. Like, he was brilliant. And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, either this guy is desperate for me or the product's actually good. So I'm like, look, send it out to me. Like, I'll try it. If I think it's shit, I'll tell you it's shit. If I like it, then we'll work together.
Yeah.
And he sent me out 3 tubs. And this was over Christmas as well. So this was a particularly interesting time. Because, Christmas is like a weird time for me because it was like the first Christmas without my granddad, all of that sort of stuff. And it was like, if I don't have enough caffeine in me now, like this will be breaking point. I'll be fucking running away. And so he sent it out to me and I was like, right, let's give it a go. So I was like, I'll give it a week. And if I crack and I have a monster, or I'm a nasty arsehole because I've not got enough caffeine in me, then I was like, it's not for me. And I was still drinking quite a lot of them to keep it up, but it was definitely fewer than Monster, and I actually felt better than drinking Monster because it's like it feels like you're just drinking juice. Like my teeth didn't feel like they were rotting away in front of me and that sort of stuff. So that's brilliant. And so after a week, I was like, I actually quite like it. I was like, let me continue, like let me run the rest of this dry. And then I'll go back to Monster and I'll see what I feel like on Monster.
Yeah.
It was like, all right. So I think they ended up lasting me like 2 or 3 weeks. It was a different concentrate back then as well. So you needed to have a little bit more per serving. And then I basically bled it dry, went back to try Monster and was like, wow, I feel like shit. I was like, my guts are turning. My teeth feel like they're rotting away. I was like, yeah, I've never actually realised how bad Monster really was. But the second I was drinking it, I was like, you can feel the sugar taking over your body. I was like, oh, mate. So I rang him up and I was like, look, Ash, I was like, I like it. Let's figure out a deal. And we figured out a deal and we started working together. We had a really good couple of months in sales. Like, it was literally more or less a brand new company. And like, it was really good. Everyone that bought it absolutely loved it. We didn't have a single negative review. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, let's keep it going. And I started building a really good relationship with him. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, Ash. I was like, the product's brilliant, but your marketing's shit. He goes, what do you mean? I was like, I just think it's arse. I was like, the website looks like it was made by a toddler. I was like, let's fix it. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, just give me creative control and let me do it. He goes, how much do you want for it? I'm like, nothing. I was like, I like the product. I was like, why would I charge you for it? I was like, just let me help. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, not everyone's an arsehole. I was like, come on, Ash. And he goes, oh, okay. And so I worked with a web designer. We've redone the whole thing. I've done a bunch of graphic work for it. Still weren't great, but it was like, given my limited knowledge of anything, I was like, it'll do. And it worked. We saw an uptick in sales. We saw an uptick in like growth and everything like that. I was like, fucking hell, I'm a genius. And so we listen. You do the website next, all right? And we we started working together a lot more closely, and I was like, oh, this is nice. This is a nice bloke. He was talking a lot more, like working on the projects a lot more, and like I was like, look, can we develop a flavor? But yeah. And now that I know how much money that flavor cost to develop, I was like, fuck, he really took a risk doing that with me because that's expensive for a small company. Do you know what I mean? Like, like throwing money into some random internet geezer that looks like Austin Powers to give him his own flavor like that. That's a big risk. And now that I know, I appreciate it even more because fuck, he really did invest in me. Do you know what I mean? And so I was like, I appreciate that. And he stood by like every project I wanted to do, was constantly giving us like products for giveaways, wanted to help us grow as much as he wanted to grow the company himself. I was like, I like this. I was like, this is a really nice dynamic. I was like, the product's really good. Like, I swear by it. We worked on like bettering all the formulas and everything else together. I was like, mate, this is brilliant. I was like, this is all I could have asked for from a sponsor. It's the only long-term sponsor I've ever had. It is the only one that I want. I'm not interested in working with any other companies at this point in time. Like, unless it's for like events or things like that. But like long-term sponsors, I just feel like it ends up becoming such a shill. But like, I didn't need to shill this because the whole sale was just literally the product is good. Like, that was all I needed to say. I was like, I've like, this is it. Like, I believe in this product. Like, I genuinely do. Like, I'm not getting paid to say this. I was like, I genuinely believe in it. I think it's brilliant. And they're like, all right, we'll try it. And everyone that tried it was like, wow, no, you're right. Like, it is brilliant. And I'm like, I don't fucking lie. I was like, I'm not going to sit there and lie, because all you have to do is try it, and if it's shit, then you tell me I'm a liar. So it's like, why would I lie about it? I was like, I think it's brilliant. And I was, we started working together more. We've actually started another company together as well, which is an e-liquid company for like vapes and stuff. And that's getting ready to launch in a couple of months. And he was like, look, do you want to come on board as a director? And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And he goes, like, own part of the company. And I'm like, no, not really. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, why would I want to do that? He goes, why would you not want to do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just don't really want the tie. I was like, it don't really interest me. I was like, got enough shit going on. I was like, I don't really care. I was like, no, I'm just happy to help. Crack on, do your thing. Like, as long as you keep paying me what our deal is, I don't really give a shit. And he was like,
are you okay?
I was like, are you all right? I was like, yeah. I was like, I just can't be arsed with it, Ash. I was like, I'll be honest. I was like, I've got enough shit going on. I was like, I don't, whatever. I was like, crack on. Do what you want. I was like, I don't really want to be a director. I was like, I can't be arsed, like, honestly. And he goes, mate, you're mad. I was like, yeah. I was whatever. 6 months after, I sat there and I'd been thinking about it a bit, and I was like, I really want to start branching out from just creating content, because like I'm more than just a geezer who sits there and plays Warzone. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Ash, listen, I've thought about it, and I'm sorry I said I don't care. I do care. Make me a director, please. And
sorry, Ash, I love you.
Yeah. So they gave me 33% of the company, and we now own a third of the company each. I don't know if that's a normal thing to tell people how many shares in the company you have, so you may have to cut that out.
Nah, you can cut that.
And so, yeah, we all three of us own a third of the company, and all separate the different tasks and stuff. I obviously do like all the social aspect and like run all of that. Ash deals with all the product in and everything like that. And then Danny, who is his missus and the other co-owner, deals with basically keeping stock up to date, doing all the shipping and stuff. So it's literally like a 3-man band. We, as part of Pud working for me, he does some of the social media stuff for us as well. Just because it's like I'm paying him anyway, so it's like, crack on and do these bits for me while if you're in between jobs. And so between the four of us, we run it all, and it seems pretty smooth. We've been doing that for like the last month, and then obviously I was like, it's time that we announce it. Let's see. So we announced it. The reception was brilliant. Everyone's like really, really pleased. And yeah, it's been good so far. So let's see what the future holds.
Yeah, it is nice though, because I mean, I watch a couple of different streamers, and I've seen. All right, I'm not going to call anyone out, but I've seen it in the past where they'll go through sort of 5 or 6 different products that are the same product, really.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, you're not selling it anymore. Like the first one, maybe I'll try it, but then when you've done that many, it's a bit,
I think as a creator, like loyalty to a brand is really important. You know what I mean? And like not just dipping away for the first chance of sales. Like a year ago, I got offered like a pretty decent settlement, like a pretty decent sum from a different drink company.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take it because I was like, I've tried your product, I didn't like it. Why would I? Don't matter if you're offering me more money, I'm not interested. So I stayed, and that's it. Like the rest is history. It's like I wouldn't part own the company now. Like I still, I've already said to the other two, I was like, I don't want to take dividends. I was like, let's just reinvest everything for the first couple of years. Like let's really do this. Like I genuinely believe this will be a brilliant company. If we work our bollocks off for it, like you've got what your bollocks off, right? And I was like, let's do it. Like let's make it brilliant. Like, we've all got our main jobs and our main companies. Why do we need to take from this? Like, let's reinvest it. Let's invest in creators. Like, I was like, what you done for me when I was smaller, and that trust and that money that you put into me, and the investment that you made into me as a person and as a creator, I want to replicate that, and I want to do that with other creators, because I know what it's like to be on that, like, in the pit and not knowing what you're doing, and sometimes just having like a company back you, and like even if it's not for like loads of money, because it's obviously still a small company, we don't have loads of money to throw at loads of creators, but like it's a creator-run company. Like, I literally, like, I've been there. I've come from nothing, and I've got to where I am. Like, I know how to do it, and I can help people do it. And it's like, you know, if you're a part of the company, I want to help you with that, right? And I've spoken to a couple of creators about doing it as well. I already helped like a handful of my pals who are creators as well, and like helping see them optics, which is brilliant. Like, I love doing that.
Yeah, man. What's the future for you then? What's the future for Halfordsucks?
Halfordsucks as a brand, in question at the moment, but we'll see how we go with that. I've always wanted my brand and my personality to be about helping people.
Yeah.
I've always wanted it to be more than just like, oh, let's line my own pockets, let's buy a nice car, let's let's wear fancy shoes. I have no interest in any of that stuff. Like, I've got a nice office, and I'm happy with that because it's where I spend all my time. Like, don't really need much else. You know, like a lot of what we do is around focusing around like the next big project, and the next big project is always how can we one up what we did last time in order to scale it and help more people.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the first thing that we did was small scale, but I hold so dear to my heart. It was like, I would say it was probably a pretty life-changing day, wasn't it? That was when I realised that, like, yeah, this is what we need to do more of. We basically, now a really close friend of mine who I had no idea who he was at the time, reached out to me and was like, look, there's this young lad who watches you. And I was like, fuck, that's not probably a good thing. I swear too much, but okay. And he was like, he's just been let out of hospital after battling cancer. He's 12, and he loves streamers and he loves watching you. Is there any chance you could send him a video like wishing him well? And I'm like, all right. I don't really know what to say. I was like, hiya, Jake. I hope you're well. Congrats on... it was the most awkward thing I've ever done because I'd never done it before, and I honestly felt so out of touch, like I'm terrible with people. So it was a bit like, I don't know what to do here. Just don't swear. We've nailed it. So that video got sent off, and then actually a few days later, I ended up... so Dan, the guy that reached out to me about it, I ended up killing him in game. And I saw that he had Facebook in his clan tag, and his defcom, like, you could just tell he'd had a day of bad games. Like, his defcom was, oh! And I was like, hey, this guy's streaming. I was like, I want his fucking perspective. So, like, I finished my stream, I edited my video, went and got his perspective, and I dropped him a message and just said, yo, because obviously it was under a different name, under his gaming page. And I was like, yo, I don't know if you know who I am. Like, my name's Halfordsucks, blah, blah, blah. Is it cool if I use your perspective for my video because I killed you earlier? And he was like, brother, you done that video for me the other day. I'm like, what fucking video?
Alcohol, Charlie.
And I was like, yeah. Every lost mate. Come on, I drink too much. You got to be a bit more specific than that. And he was like, oh, that video for Jake, the young lad. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I started asking him questions. Like, how is he? Like, you know, how's everything going? The more he told me, the more invested I got in it. And I was like, oh, brother. But I was like, we've got to do more. I was like, yeah, get him in for some games next Sunday or something like that, whenever you're both available. And so they jumped in for some games. Or just before they jumped in for some games, I turned around to Dan and I was like, how big is into it? Is he? Like, what's he play on? I was like, I'll get him a new Xbox or something. Which can't do that. I was like, of course I can do what I want. Like, I want to buy a kid an Xbox, I buy a kid an Xbox. He goes, you've never met him? I'm like, why do I need to meet people? I just want to help him out, right? It's a good kid. I couldn't get an Xbox or a PS5 anywhere. So I was like, look, Dan, we've got 10 minutes before I go live. Do me a favour, ring his mum. He goes, well, I was like, ask her if she minds if I buy him a computer. And he was like, what? I'm like, yeah, just ask her. And he goes, brother, I'm like, Dan, I've got 10 minutes before I go live. Stop fucking about and just ask her. And he goes, all right. So I rung her up and he came back and he goes, she's in tears. And I'm like, is that good or bad? And he goes, well, I don't think she's going to say no. And I went, yeah, fine, we'll sort it out. So I mentioned it at the start of the stream. I was like, yeah, I'm going to, like, this lad that we're coming on today, I was like, I think I'm going to buy him a PC, like, treat him like he's been through shit. Everyone's like, do a GoFundMe so we can do it. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I set GoFundMe up and we raised $2,500. And I met some brilliant people doing all of that. Like, the guy that does all of my PCs now, that's how I met him. Very, very talented guy when it comes to IT and stuff. I met Dan through all of that, and like a bunch of other people that are just really, really nice, and they've helped me with so many other things since. And they're all really good people as well. They all want people to do, like, to help people and, like, to do well. And it's like, that's fucking, like, I love that. Do you know what I mean? Like, surround yourself with people that are like-minded and, like, meeting people like that. It's like, yeah, this is sick. So we basically spent like $2,500 on this PC, and I think I spent about $2,000 of my own money buying like monitors, keyboard, mouse, or we got the keyboard and mouse gifted and a couple of other bits gifted. I got like a chair, things like that, so we could have them like all properly set up, like hoodies, things like that. We wanted it to be like a full day. I worked a lot with his mum, like liaising, get a date, and we rocked up to his house, made sure his mum had him out, and we sat there and we live streamed it from my phone. I just remember it's surreal because I was like, fuck it, I've never done a stream from my phone. And we had like over 1,000 people sitting there watching us surprise him.
Yeah.
And then we filmed it all as well, and we got a video out of it, and it was beautiful, man. Like his face. We then stayed there for like a good portion of the day, built it all with him. Got to sit there and like chat with him and like film some bits with him and his parents. And it was like, man, this is something special. Do you know what I mean? I was like, this is what I love doing. This. I was like, that's it. Like that, something clicked, and I was like, we've got to do more. And obviously, it was like difficult because it was like I don't have $2,000 to throw at projects every month. I was like, fuck, what do? I don't want to do GoFundMe's every month as well because it's like I kind of need the donations from my audience to help fund my being able to do anything. So I was like, fuck, this is a sticky spot. So I was like, okay. So we took some time back. We took a step back. I really focused on like videos and stuff, doing like the odd like smaller charity event here and there. Like we do just like random fundraisers for the day. Like one of my favorite ones was like one day I went live on a Friday, which I don't normally do. I was like, fuck it, 1v1 me for money. Like if I win, I'll PayPal you 20 quid. If you win, you don't have to do anything, so I can't force you to do anything, but make a donation to a charity. Yeah. I was like, on our behalf. And, mate, they fucking loved it, didn't they? We was live for about 5 hours, 1v1ing people. We ended up everyone was just sending it to me and was like, yeah, look, you take the money and then donate it. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I think we done like $800. And I was like, this was like the spur of the moment. I'm talking waffle and just sniping my supporters on Rust. I was like, this is brilliant. And just little things like that. Oh, it's so much fun, man. And like, you know that it's going to good places. And so like, I've been to schools a lot this year, or a couple of times this year, and done like speeches in schools. I went into a college in Croydon, and done a lesson with them. I've been into a school. I can't remember where it is. It's like, where was it? Sittingbourne. I went to a school in Sittingbourne that have like a dedicated section for young adults with learning disabilities that are like trying to like doing an employment course to like help them transition from like a school life into more of a working life. That was amazing. That was really cool to do. And like, you know, a couple of other bits. Like it's brilliant, man. Like it's and it made me realize as well that sometimes helping people isn't always about money as well, which I think a lot of people are just like, well, just donate to a charity. And it's like, brother, you can do so much more than that.
Yeah, time's way more.
Yeah, time is worth more than anything else. Do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes just going in and sitting and chatting with people for an hour is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
you got anything else lined up charity-wise?
I've spoken about it once, and this is... I'm going to talk about it now because I am going to do it. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Well, if you put it
I've got to put it out. I'll put it out there because I want to do it, and I'll fucking do it. And this at least holds me accountable, right? I want to walk from Land's End to John O'Groats across the span of a month. It will be just over a marathon every single day if I go the short route. And I want to live homeless in that time and daily vlog the entire thing, raising money for homeless shelters throughout the UK.
Okay.
That's next, I think.
So you're gonna sleep rough. You're gonna do it.
Yeah. So I think the way that I'm gonna do it, because obviously like there's inherent risks with that, especially when you're walking around with like camera gear and you're daily vlogging. There's a lot of people that don't like me anyway. So there are inherent risks that we're gonna have to have buffers on the videos so that like they're a few days behind, so that you don't necessarily know my exact location. Yeah, but also we're gonna do things like, you know, open it up so that if people recognize me, and they, you know, I think we're going to go along the route of like, if you see me, give me stuff, basically. And I will only survive off of what my audience members that recognize me give me.
Okay.
I think that definitely makes the spin harder, but I also think it really builds like a community effect around that as well, which I really like the idea of. And I also don't think that's really something that's been done. I kind of like that spin on it as well. Obviously, there's so many logistical things that come with this. I said to Pud this morning, I was like, look, I've been putting some balls in motion. Because he's been away for a week. I was like, would you leave your wife and kids for a month and travel up the country with me, editing videos and sleeping in a van? And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I've been working on it and it is doable, but I was like, it's going to be a fucking nosebleed. It's not going to be easy. And I was like, realistically, you're just going to have to accept the fact that you're not going home for a month. And he was like, oh. it was just like a really deep sigh first thing in the morning. And I was like, yeah, now the real work begins, bitch.
It's not me you got convinced.
Yeah, it should be fine. I'll pay you extra that month. But no, obviously, like, there's a lot of things that come with that because A, it's not fair on me turning around to Pud and saying, like, up and fuck off for a month. Because he's got kids, he's got a wife, he's got responsibilities. I don't. I kind of just mince about and do what I fancy. So, like, obviously, I want to compensate him as best I can for that. I want to try and pay him, like, a shit ton of money because he's basically going to be working 24 hours a day for 31 days. Because it's going to be the stress of editing all the videos, plus being on call, because if something goes wrong with me, I'm going to have to ring him and be like, you got to come and save me, please help. Do you know what I mean? So there's obviously inherent risks of everything, and a lot of logistical problems. We'd have to buy a couple of new bits of equipment that would probably amount to a few £1,000 as well. So it's like, it's a lot of risk at the moment.
You'll also be off stream and not working for a month.
Yeah, so we're going to have like a significant decrease in revenue as well.
Yeah.
For something that is ultimately probably going to cost me like £15,000 to £20,000 to do in order to raise as much money as possible over the month, like, and do it properly, we would be losing like a full month's income as well, other than what we make through the YouTube videos. I mean, I want to do like real live streams on Facebook as well, because I can do them from my phone while we're traveling and stuff.
Yeah.
Which would maybe make up some of the income, but nothing like what we would normally be making on there. So it would definitely be an interesting way of doing everything.
You don't do things like this, yeah.
I don't like to do things in halves. No, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go fucking full hog, right? There's no point in doing a half-assed job.
So the aim of it really is you want to attract enough attention for them to donate to you, or for them to donate to us.
Donate to a charity.
But
yeah,
do it like via.
So
you.
we'd either do like a GoFundMe again, because that's what we did for the marathon charities. We'd done a GoFundMe because I wanted to do two, and I couldn't. None of the platforms allow it to just go into one pot and then split.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, it all has to go to a GoFundMe, and then I have to withdraw it, and then I have to split it. So there's obviously like unfortunate platform fees that come with that and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that this time I'm probably going to focus on one platform and raise it through Facebook and YouTube, because that will be the two platforms I'm making the content on. Raise it through them because they actually don't take fees out of their charity. There's no fees on that. All the money that's donated actually goes directly to the charities.
Right.
So I would probably just pick a singular shelter and do it straight through that.
Right. Okay. So when are you going to be thinking of doing this?
This bit I'm not holding myself accountable to, because there is so much risk and so much everything that needs to go into this. Like, this is easily the biggest thing I've ever done. I thought the marathon was big. This is even bigger, and it's still kind of a bit of a daydream at the moment. I want to do it in December.
Right.
But not only then am I taking Pud away from his wife and kids for a month, I'm also doing it over Christmas, which is definitely not very nice.
Yeah.
And then obviously the inherent risk to me and my health sleeping rough is also a lot worse. And I just don't think it's going to be ready to do by December.
Yeah.
Because I'm basically going to have to save every fucking penny that I make to be able to afford to do this. So, a little bit like scary. So I think we might end up, it honestly depends. With a lot of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes at the moment, there might be something that happens that just makes me turn around and say, fuck it, we're going away from up. Come on, chop, pack your bag, let's go. It depending on how certain things pan out, it could very well be Monday. But we'll see, I guess. I'm all for a bit of spontaneity, and when better than the present, right? But I think realistically, if I want to do it properly, it's probably going to be more like early next year, like maybe February, March time. So at least then it's not quite as dangerous.
Yeah.
You'd be away from your
Mate, it'd be lovely though, wouldn't it? Like nice and warm.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, that's too easy.
Warm?
It's warmer than December.
Look, all I'm saying, I'd rather walk in the cold than in the sky. If you'd have made me walk a marathon in 40-degree heat last week, I would have just curled up in a ball and cried.
Yeah.
Just would have done it here with the aircon on.
But yeah, so I don't know when I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I just know that I've got that itch now and I can't scratch it, so I'm going to do it.
So you're going to be doing it. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
100%.
you're going to need help from, obviously you're going to need people to donate and stuff, but with this going out on LinkedIn, there might be support from businesses. If there's any equipment that you need to, even if you need to lease it and hire it and just give it back or whatever.
A van would be nice, or like a camper, so that we haven't got to pay for hotels and you can live out of a camper. That'd be sick.
Right.
Yeah, or even just a van that you don't mind us putting a bed and a desk in the back.
Okay.
He can't be picky. He don't have a choice. So I'll be sleeping in a bush. So, a van actually sounds like luxury, right?
Or just a big.
Maybe I had an estate. I slept in the estate loads, so it's fine. It's safe-ish.
If someone says on the first day donates a tent to you.
And then, like, obviously, there's like massive sponsorship opportunity there as well. Like, we accepted sponsors with the marathon thing that we done. It made national news. It reached hundreds of thousands of people on Facebook and all the rest of it. I have like full breakdowns of it if companies are interested in looking. And obviously, this is going to be even bigger. The whole point in this is that the theory behind it is like a viral theory that's just it's not been done. It's
of course.
Absolutely fucking nuts. I've got a community of people that I'll just get to spam the news outlets. So, like hopefully there's enough room there for like some big like view time and opportunities, because obviously if we can actually like get some really good videos out of it, then we might actually make some of the money back ourselves as well. But obviously there's plenty of like sponsorship opportunity there, whether that be immediately to the charities or whether that be to help fund the logistics of this. Do you know what I mean?
I was going to say it does the right thing as well. It draws interest into those charities. It draws the right thing. Sounds mental, but it sounds good.
I'm all for doing things that everyone says is mental. No one said I'd do the marathon, and I've done that. So it's like, everyone says I can't do this, so now I've got to do it.
Never tell Halfordsucks you can't do something.
Yeah, I'll go out of my way to do it in the most fashionable way I possibly can.
Right, so how long have we done? We've done just over an hour now. So I end every sort of podcast with one question. So it's, what's the one main thing in the world or in business or in your, in streaming and what you do? What is the one main thing that really pisses you off and you would change like in a heartbeat?
Stupid questions.
Fair enough.
When you put yourself on like social media, you really open yourself up to a lot of interesting questions from people, shall we say?
Yeah.
And like, I get a lot of like creators messaging me, and they're like, "How do you do this?" And I'm like, "How the fuck do you think I learned? Google it." Like, they're like, asking like a really simple, and I get it. I get why, because it's tempting to ask people, but in the same token, there is literally the internet.
Yeah.
Like, that shit can answer anything better than I can. And it'll be a well thought out answer by someone who's probably put a lot of time and effort into it, and will actually benefit from you reading their article or watching their YouTube video, because they'll probably get paid from it. Like, I'm just sitting there probably trying to edit a video on myself and getting like hundreds of questions thrown at me, like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? It's like, I'm trying to think, like, I want to train of thought. Google it, please, because not only are you going to get a better, well thought out answer from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, I'll just make shit up and hope that it sticks. And that person whose video or article that you're watching is probably also going to get paid for that, and it benefits them as well for their hard work. Realistically, like, as nasty as it sounds, more often than not, it's just actually just a pain in the arse. It's like, you would get a better all-round experience if you just Googled it or went on YouTube. That's how I learned everything. There's so many tutorials and like everything. Like, like, I get that some things there aren't things that you can Google, and I have like quite a lot of people that, like, most of my like close friends in the industry, if they ask me something and I think I don't need to answer it. I will just respond with Google.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's just my personality. They know that I'm not trying to be nasty. They're just. I'm a firm believer that if you like apply yourself to learn something as opposed to just asking someone, you'll actually learn it better.
Mate, I do that with simple things as well. Do you know, like on Facebook, when people say things like, I don't know, what time's the game tonight? And I'm like, Google. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? You've took all that time to put that on Facebook. You could have found out, mate.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Like,
Sometimes type that question, you can just put that into Google search.
yeah, and you don't have to wait for Gary down the road who's feeding his dog to answer you. You wait for your Wi-Fi to kick in, and which is like a split second.
It's mad.
I've never understood it, and it genuinely baffles me. Like, sometimes I just feel like people should maybe apply what they have learned to learn more. You know what I mean?
Just a bit of common sense.
I'm a miserable fuck though.
No, you're right. It's a good answer, to be fair. It's a good answer.
What do people normally answer to that? Because I can't imagine it's that brash, is it?
Mate, it can be. Yeah, we've had some weird ones, but that makes sense. I've had stuff where I'm like, I have no idea why that bothers you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, but you know, everyone gets bothered by different things. It's just like I've got this like a really weird thing about about people talking with a mouthful, and it's not that like it doesn't necessarily. I don't want people to not do it as such. It gets in my mind and it really starts to upset me. And I'm just like, it's ticking over in my head. And I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. And I don't want to abuse anyone and be like, just fucking. But I'm like,
shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah, it just gets in my mind, man. It really.
I get you, brother. I get you.
But yeah,
I don't want to see it go round in a circle. Just swallow it and talk to me.
We're going to see you on stream in a bit, chewing on something just to wind me up.
Yeah. Come into the stream in about 45 minutes time, and I'll be eating my lunch. All right, Bryn.
Seriously, man. It's just one of those things. No, well, thank you both for coming on.
Pleasure.
It's been,
thank you for having us.
No, it's been a pleasure. It's nice to know a bit more about you, about the businesses, where you've come from, where you've got to, and what your plans are with with your crazy shit going forward. So, thank you.
It's only gonna get more nuts from there.
Yeah, man. Thank you both for coming on. I'll let you know as soon as this goes out. But thank you everyone for listening.